legislation, why not try and do this through rulemaking through the Department of Commerce?
You know, we had extensive conversations about that, and the response that came back to us was that this needed to be addressed through legislation.
There's nobody that really forces any consumer that walks into a check cashing place, however, to cash that check there, correct? Because I have done stories on this in the past where a lady walked in one day, wanted a $500 loan because she had a car issue. And I said, why not get your check cashed here? And she said, well, because I don't want to pay the fee, I'm just going to take it to my bank and then pay it back, you know, when the term's up. How do you have any statistics about how often people actually cash a check there? Because there's nobody holding a gun to their head to do that.
I don't have those statistics, but you know, the belief is that the money is being made on the backs of the folks who can least afford to pay it. You know, we talk so much about turning around Ohio and turning around this economy, and to do that, we have to have strong consumers. If we have consumers who are digging deeper ditches of debt, it's going to be difficult for us to achieve that turnaround. Sometimes you have to step in and help people throw the shovel out of the ditch. And sometimes you have to say, while you're walking in there of your own free will, we don't believe that you're being treated fairly or well as a consumer. And that's where I think our role steps in.
I just had one follow-up on that. Where will that business go if more of these places go out of business? Will it go to the banks? I mean, will the banks reap big profits off of this? I know Fifth Third Bank, I think, has a similar type of a loan, short-term loan program.
I'm a big believer that we need to keep the dialogue open with the banks, with the credit unions, to simply say, keep finding ways to help Ohio consumers. You know, in most cases, most folks, you know, do have a job that are taking out these loans. So you would think that they would be able to work out arrangements similar to, I saw a credit union in Cleveland where, you know, the collateral was having your check deposited to their account and they would loan you an amount. And I believe the interest on that was about 17%. So there are options out there.
A lot of eyes looked at this bill when it was first, you know, put forth to the voters. With all those people, smart people who make these decisions, why was this not seen by the people who put this together? How did this get through without these loopholes being known about when this went to the ballot in November?
Yeah, as I said, Ohio is not unique. The industry is found a way around the laws in other states as well, to North Carolina, Oregon, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Georgia, West Virginia. You know, the list goes on and on. So there were other states who thought that they had measures in place and found out that they still had to close some loopholes as well.
So with that knowledge that this had happened in other states, again, how did you have legal advisors, many of you legislators or lawyers, how did you write a law that had so many loopholes? You're using the word loophole now, you acknowledge the loophole. How did that happen?
Yeah, just so you understand, there's a reason why, you know, a rear view mirror is smaller than a windshield. I think looking backwards isn't really going to solve the issue right now. We're trying to look forward and move ahead. You would have to go back to some of the authors of the original legislation and ask that question.
How do you know that what you've crafted now doesn't have any loopholes? How do you know they're not going to start charging a cover charge just to walk into the store?
Don't get
I was going to say, definitely don't give them any ideas. You know, there are no guarantees. We've taken our time. It's been a very deliberative and thoughtful process. I know many have said we've taken too long, but we took the time that we felt that we needed to take. I know that we had a lot of conversations with Rye King out of North Carolina, who I think is pretty good at being a CSI guy of payday lenders who seems to be able to put together all the pieces and try to figure out all the different ways and motives of the industry and what they've done. So we've incorporated those in here, and we are making our strongest effort. We don't want to revisit this a third time. That's why we're trying to do it right this time.
So does your proposal say no extra fees, or does it say no check cashing fees, no origination fees? Or do you just clearly say
interest only, 28% interest only, 28% interest only, no other fees. No origination fee, no sunshine fee, no rain fee, you know, no check.
If I say only 28%, that should prohibit any other fees, no matter what they call them.
Right. For loans under $1,000 for a period of time of 90 days.
Is there a specific example of 680%, you guys threw that number out there, where that's actually been used?
Well, the number was derived from the report that Tom mentioned, is what's possible if you add in all the fees that could be charged based on these other statutes. I mean, and you can understand in a mortgage situation where you're looking at a longer term loan with various fees, they actually do check your credit, they actually, set up a long-term loan. An origination fee, application fee is normal in a mortgage situation. So having those fees in the Mortgage Act isn't necessarily onerous, but having them applied to a 2-week payday loan for a few $100s is quite onerous. And so we see a lot of the payday lenders charging very comparable rates to what they charged before. But I think the point of the report was if they're going to be allowed to operate under this other act, they could charge APRs in excess of 600.
Right.